Alright, this is going to be part 7. I'm going to read the question. This is Welder Red Seal Exam questions. Part 7. I'm going to read the question, wait a sec for you to answer it, and then read the answer. Pause it if you need more time. Which of the following would cause the brightest arc when welding? The long arc length, true or false? The following would cause the brightest arc when welding. Long arc length, true or false? That is true. Blank is self-ignition caused by a chemical reaction and temperature buildup in combustible waste material. Spontaneous combustion. Spontaneous means by itself. Combustion means boom, or starting on fire. Which of the following is a type of corner joint? Full open. True or false? The following is a type of corner joint. Full open. True. Blank welding is the welding of two pieces of material at one or more points in order to hold the pieces together temporarily while welding them. Tack. Tack welding. What are probable results if the welding current is too high or the arc length is too great? A wide, splattered, irregular weld. That doesn't sound very good. When welding with a direct current machine, straight polarity, the electrode holder should be positive or negative? Negative. A chemical agent that cleans and softens plastic pipe and fittings and allows solvent cement to penetrate more effectively into the pipe is primer. A blank is printed documentation used to relay hazardous material information from the manufacturer, importer, or distributor to the worker. So it's the sheet that gives you all the information on hazardous material. It's called an SDS, or safety data sheet. Blank is a change in volume of a material in relation to temperature. Thermal expansion. Blank occurs when the body's vital functions are threatened by a lack of blood or when the major organs and tissues are not receiving enough oxygen. Shock. When you start feeling crappy because you're not getting enough oxygen or you've lost too much blood, you go into shock. Portable power tools and equipment are powered by... There's a bunch of answers probably here. I'm guessing batteries or electricity. The answer was all of the above. Sorry. Throw it over there. Blank is the characteristic of material that causes the material to fracture without significant deformation. Brittleness. A laser hand level accurately projects a laser beam up to how many feet? 100 feet. So you can stand at the back of the classroom and your laser pointer is still going to touch the screen because you're 100 feet away. Blank tools are used to measure and mark angles during the fabrication of building materials? Squaring. Squaring. I thought maybe it was scarring. It's S-Q-U-A-R. Yeah, squaring. Blank typically performs most of the welding and metalworking required on a farm. Agricultural mechanics. It's just a small job on the farm. They just do it themselves, right? Fillet weld in the horizontal position if it says a F2 weld is true or false. Fillet weld in the horizontal position if it says 2F weld. That is true. Reinforcement. What kind of reinforcement is this? Blank reinforcement is reinforcement on the same side as the weld, or as the welding. Face. A blank joint is a weld joint between two overlapping parts in parallel planes. Lap. Blank is the melting of base metal and filler material or base metal only to make a weld. Fusion welding. When welding lap joints, an overlap greater than blank times the thickness of the thinner part is recommended. 3 times the thickness of the thinner part is recommended. A blank joint is welded joint in which two parts set approximately level to each other and positioned edge to edge. This is called a butt joint. A blank is a weld that results from a weld pass. Weld bead. Class blank fires include electrical equipment such as motors, appliances, wiring, fuse boxes, breaker panels, and transformers. This is a Class C fire. The color blank is used with safety color coding to indicate safety devices and locations of first aid equipment. Orange. Like a traffic cone. Orange. Blank requires the ability to read drawings, plans, prints, and project specifications. Project planning. What is a metal called when it has two or more significant metallic elements? That's an alloy. Blank is required in order to reference technical information, learn about changes in equipment and technology, and gain knowledge necessary to speak intelligently. Reading. Oh, that's just dumb. Reading is required in order to reference technical information, learn about changes in the equipment and technology, and gain knowledge necessary to speak intelligently. Well, that's not true at all. A blank weld is made from both sides of a joint. Double groove. Double your Blank reinforcement is additional weld metal that is required to completely fill a joint. Weld reinforcement. Welding is an arc. Blank welding is an arc welding process that produces an arc between a continuous wire electrode and the base metal, creating a weld pool in the presence of a shielding gas. This is gas metal arc. Blank welding is welding that joins metals by heating them with an electric arc. This is arc welding. Welding is an arc welding process that produces an arc between a continuous tubular electrode with flux in its core and a base metal, creating a weld pool. This is called flux cored arc. Blank is a cutting process uses and constricted arc and high pressure gas to form a high velocity jet of plasma or ionized gas for cutting. This is a PAC, or plasma arc cutting. The blank is the portion of the groove face within the root opening. This is the root face. Blank reinforcement is reinforcement on the back side of the base metal opposite the face reinforcement. Root. Which of the true or false? Correct regarding the methods of applying brazing flux is flux may be sprayed on, brushed on, or applied with pressurized applicator. True or false? That is true. Which of the following is not another name for shielded metal arc welding? Sorry, this one has a funny answer. GMAW. This one is not a name for shielded metal arc welding. GMAW. The output of an arc welding machine is commonly expressed in terms of amperage. When welding with direct current machine, slightly straight polarity an electrode holder would be. When welding with a direct current machine straight polarity, the electrode holder would be positive or negative? Negative. If a conduit is used in wiring a confinement livestock building, the NEC indicates that blank should be used. Rigid non-metallic conduit, or RNMC. What is the name of the mix of base metal and filler rod that remains after the weld is complete? Bead. Which one of the following statements is correct with respect to wearing safety glasses while welding? Safety glasses should be worn continuously while working with a near with or near metal working activities. Safety glasses only need to be worn when a supervisor is around, or safety glasses don't help anything. The answer is safety glasses should be worn continuously while working with or near metal working activities. So someone besides just doing it, you should still be wearing your glasses. When working with metals, which would not be a method for identifying metals? Ductivity. Why does it? That's a dumb question because of the way it's worded. When working with metals, which is not a method for identifying metals? Ductivity. There's a lot of things that would not be. Arc welding machines house transformers to reduce input blank and increase output blank for safety and effective welding. Voltage and amperage. So it would go AC welding machines house transformers to reduce the input voltage and increase output amperage for safe and effective welding. The AC-DC welding machine is essentially an AC welder with an electronic device to convert AC to DC power. This electronic device is called a rectifier. What terminology correctly identifies the reduction in voltage caused by the resistance that occurs between the power supply and the load? This is known as voltage drop. Which of the following colors are used to correctly identify oxygen and acetylene hoses? So what color for each? Red for acetylene and green for oxygen. A blank weld is a small weld used to hold the parts in proper alignment until the welds are made. Tack. A blank is a weld joint formed when two parts are positioned at approximately 90, there's a little O after it, to each other to form a T. Probably 90 degrees. A T-joint. A blank joint is the physical configuration at the juncture of the parts to be welded. It's a lot of words to mean weld. A weld joint is the physical configuration of the juncture of the parts to be welded. No shit, Sherlock. The blank is the junction of the base metal and the weld face. This is called the weld toe. A blank weld is a fusion weld made without filler material. Autogenous. I may be saying that wrong. What is the most common type of steel used in construction of agricultural buildings, fences, and gates? Mild steel. A blank hazard is the degree of susceptibility of materials to release energy by themselves or by exposure to certain conditions or substances. This is reactivity. In selecting the joining process, one consideration relates to the blank, such as whether the parts are made out of standard metal or an exotic alloy. The answer is metals to be joined. A blank is a defiance that protects against electrical shock by detecting an imbalance of current in the normal conductor pathways and opening the circuit. This is a ground fault circuit. Ground faults stop you from getting shocked because it'll send it back to the ground. The narrow layer or layers of narrow layer or layers of metal deposited on the base metal as an electrode melts. Bead. The same equipment may be used for semi-automatic GMAW, FCAW, and SAW. True or false? True. An electrical terminology. What is the meaning of the abbreviation AC? Alternating current. You must know the kind of metal to be welded before you can select an electrode. Which of the following is an example of ferrous metal? Well, steel. Blank controls the size of the arc. Amperage. Which of the following colors are correct for oxygen acetylene hoses? Red for acetylene and green for oxygen. What is the average no-load or open circuit amperage and voltage in a direct current arc welding circuit? 0 amps and 60 to 80 volts. Assume you have just purchased the hoses and regulators for an oxyacetylene welder. The hose that would be used to contain the oxygen would most likely be blank in color, and the fittings would have blank threads. It would be green and have right-hand threads. Ductility is the ability of a metal to do what before it breaks? Elongate. What is the maximum recommended hose pressure in pounds per square inch, or PSI, for acetylene fuels used in oxyacetylene cutting equipment? 15 PSI. The electrical wiring symbol at the right represents a duplex convenience outlet. Duplex conveyance outlet. Blank welding occurs from the heat created by resistance to the flow of current through the jointed metals? Resistance. On a typical shielded metal arc welding E7018 electrode, the 70 indicates what value of tensile strength? 70,000 psi. Burning clothes on a human should be extinguished with... Blow on it. No. With a fire blanket. Which is... I like that one. What is the name of the cleansing agent used to facilitate the removal of oxides, release, trapping gases, and slag, and chemically cleanse the metal during the welding, brazing, and or soldering process? The cleansing agent is called flux. Where are they? Are they in a different pile? Perfect. Thanks, love. A blank hazard is a likelihood of a material to cause either directly or indirectly temporary or permanent injury or incapacitation due to acute exposure or contact, inhalation, or ingestion. So you can get sick on what kind of hazard? A health hazard. This one is weld deposited in weld root opposite the face of the weld on the other side of the joint member, deposited before the weld on the opposite side of the part, is a backing weld. Welding in which individual passes are made in opposite direction of the weld is backstep welding. A fusion weld made without addition of filler material is autogenuous weld. Probably saying that wrong. Weld deposited in the weld root opposite the face of the weld on the other side of the joint member, deposited after the weld on the opposite side of the part. Back weld. I feel like we've heard that question. Round, square, or rectangular shaped structured steel is called a bar. Straight line around a geometric figure is generated I'm going to read that again. A straight line around a geometric figure is called an axis. The distance from the center of one row of rivets to the center of the adjacent row of rivets is the back or transverse pitch. Fabricated components of a particular piping system is a spool. A blank joint is a weld joint formed when the edges of two or more parallel or nearly parallel parts are joined. This is an edge joint. Blank is the use of metal-to-metal contact or wire between two containers to prevent positive ignition from static electricity sparks. Bonding. To start and sustain a fire, blank must be present. I'm thinking the word's oxygen, but it doesn't give me an answer. It says all answers listed. A blank is a rubberized plastic or leather pad strapped to the knees for protection. A knee pad, like you used in volleyball. AC welding machines house transformers to reduce input blank and increase output blank for safe and effective welding. Voltage and amperage. AC welding machines house transformers to reduce input of voltage and increase output amperage for safe and effective welding. A blank is consumable or non-consumable component. A blank is a consumable or non-consumable component of a welding circuit that conducts current to the arc, molten slag, or base metal. That is a welding electrode. Common blank joints are flush, half open, and half or full open. Corner. A shielded metal arc welding SMAW electrode contains blank, which forms a protective slag over the welds. Flux. The lower the density of gas, the lower the flow rate required for equal arc protection. True or false? The lower the density of a gas, the lower the flow rate required for equal arc penetration. This is false. Generally, the direction of travel for a right-handed welder when using a stick welding machine would be from left to right, slowly and evenly across the plate. Which of the following are accepted welding positions? Let's try and think of what are accepted welding positions. Flat, horizontal, vertical, and overhead. When welding, one bead or layer of filler material is called a pass. What is the name given to the first and most important pass in welding? The root pass. I am root. Oh, sorry, that's Groot. The first two digits in the AWS electrode classification number designates the first two digits. Tensile strength. The blank is the distance the arc must jump from the end of the electrode to the plate or weld pool surface. Arc length. Doing great, keep going. Which of the following is recommended to be worn under the welding helmet for safety protection of the eyes when accomplishing other tasks besides welding? Clear safety glasses. What would a negative effect of insufficient shielding gas flow in the gas metal arc welding process? Porosity. Like porcupine. What is a common name of a shielded metal arc welding process? Stick welding. Electrodes are identified by classification systems established by what society? The American Welding Society. The flux coating on an electrode provides a gas shield to protect the molten metal. What are the advantages of gold-coated filter lenses? It allows the welder to work in natural colors and reflects 99.9% of the harmful rays and 99.9% of the heat. The shielding gases commonly used with GMAW and FCAW processes are argon and carbon monoxide. At what angle should an electrode be held to realize the greatest advantage of the electromagnetic field surrounding the electrode? What angle should it be held at? 90 degrees. If only one kind of electrode for all arc welding is to be purchased, the best choice is E6011. So E6011. Water in a welding area is useful for... It doesn't tell me. It says all of the answers listed. For drinking, for